Hey guys, we're here at Hardracing today with our Project Grom, and we've already done the rear brake caliper upgrade to the Brembo 34mm calipers. And next we're going to install our custom stainless steel brake line, which we offer for that kit. It's going to be specifically made for the lower caliper mount. The stock one was up here, this one's down here. So the fittings are a little bit different. The length is a few inches longer. It's got some custom grommets that are going to fit for your stock layout. The great thing about this is when it's all done, it's OEM fit. You don't have to modify anything on your bike. The custom brake line is going to be specific to mount to the grommet fit here, here, and then the fittings are going to be specific made for the caliper. So it comes with one fine threaded banjo bolt and one coarse threaded banjo bolt. The Brembo uses fine threaded 1.0 10mm by 1.0 thread pitch. The OEM stuff is going to be 1.25. You cannot use them interchangeably, so again, this custom kit is made specific for this Brembo caliper and your OEM rear master cylinder. Alright, so first thing we do is take the coarse threaded banjo bolt and put it up here into the master cylinder. And then we take the grommet and slide it down. So now you have this black grommet that goes in your stock little clip in the back. And then you have another one that goes right here. This is your OEM clip that would have come off your stock one. And you're basically going to just slide that onto your grommet, clip it on, and it goes right back to where it was. Alright, now we're going to take your fine threaded banjo bolt, the 10 by 1.0, and we're going to mount that onto the brake caliper. And before you crank down your banjos, just test it, make sure everything looks good. Make sure there's no rerouting, because once you crank those down, crush washers should only be used once. So once you crank them down, they're pretty much shot. Yeah, guys, do reuse them. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. They're real cheap, so if you have to go get them, you can get them pretty much at any auto advanced store. But it's one of those things where you don't want to mess around with it if you can. Just wait to crank them until you've double-checked everything and it all looks right, and then you cinch them down. They recommend around 20 foot-pounds of torque to crank these down to seal them up, so we'll do that next. Alright, so we put the stock clip back on the included grommets that come with the core Moto. Crank that down here, and that'll hold the line from getting in the way with anything. And the upper one goes in there. And the nice thing, same routing as your stock where it goes forward and back around. What that allows for is if you do get rear sets and you move them up and back, you'll have plenty of extra slack here, so no issues having to get new lines if you get rear sets. Always want to use your thumb to keep the banjo from pivoting. Yeah, there might be a stop there, but it's still best to use your hands to support it. You don't ever want to break a banjo end because you're trying to over crank it. Alright, so we're going to pull this cover off, and first you remove the little plastic cover on the outside. Little bolt behind there. Take that out. And there's a little push pin right here. Pop that loose. Screw here and screw there and screw there. So you take and you lift it up. Take it out and it comes off. Alright. access to your reservoir here. Take the little screwdriver here, loosen the top of it. Put that on some paper towels out of the way. Alright, so once you get that off, you get the cover off, and what you do is you hook your little mighty vac, or in our case, big vac. Anything will work, anything that sucks out brake fluid. And you pump it up, and then you very lightly loosen your bleeder roll. And then you'll see air getting sucked through there. And slowly your reservoir will go down. The key here is do not let your reservoir empty. If you let your reservoir empty, you gotta start all over. So as soon as you see it get to the end where your reservoir is about to run out, close the valve off and put some more brake fluid in. Very careful when you pour the brake fluid in there to not get anything on you. And don't overfill it. The thing about brakes is just take your time. Don't get in a hurry. Don't overfill it. Don't forget to refill it. Just take your time and it'll be a lot easier. Again, open the valve up. Let all the air out. Watch your reservoir if the fluid goes down. Alright, so once you get all the air out of the system, double check, make sure your brakes are tight, no sponginess, no air in them. Last thing you want to do, obviously this thing is tightened up, but to make sure it's just right. And that way you know it's tight enough, but not too tight. Obviously you don't want it to leak. Obviously you don't want to break it off inside the caliper. So it is good to use a torque wrench whenever possible. That way you do it right first time. So the caliper's done, all secure. Just put your little rubber stopper back on there. Lines are all secured. Just put the cover back on here. Obviously make sure your level is just a little bit below full, because you want to have a little room for expansion if they get really hot. Fluid will expand a little bit. Double check your brakes. Just turn them. As soon as you push down maybe like about an inch, they should grab. And then any more than that, it shouldn't even turn. So, and there you have it. Rear brake line installed. Brembo caliper upgrade already done. Good to go. Now, take your cover for your reservoir, put it back on there. Another reason you want to leave it a little bit below upper is because it has that rubber boot on it. You don't want that thing pushing down on your fluid and squirting over the top. Down to secure, Phillips head screwdriver, tighten it down. Again, this is just finger tight. You don't need to crank it. It's just plastic threaded. So. Do a little bit back and forth, crossing them. Nice and tight. Good to go. Then you put your plastic panel back on, and you're all set.